Chapter 2. The Rebellion of Su Hu. The next morning, after he had received respects from his ministers, King Zhou addressed his messengers. Transmit my orders to the 4 Grand Dukes, that they must each present me with 100 beautiful virgins to serve in the palace. Their family background, in terms of rank and wealth, may be ignored, but they must be gentle, virtuous, and above all beautiful. But before the king had finished this announcement, a great minister stepped out from the ranks and knelt down before him. Your old minister Shang Rong begs to advise your majesty that if you rule the country properly, the people will continue to take pleasure in their work and obey your wishes without having to be ordered. Shang reminded him. Your majesty has already 1,000 beautiful women at least, who serve you in your chamber palace. If you now order the conscription of so many beautiful virgins, the people will be dissatisfied and oppose you. Remember the saying, when a ruler rejoices with his people, they also rejoice with him. When he grieves at the sorrow of his people, they also grieve at his. Your people are now suffering seriously from floods and droughts. How can your majesty seek pleasure in women at a time like this? You must recall how Emperors Yao and Shun rejoiced with the people and ruled the country with kindness and virtue, without resorting to violence and without bloodshed or war. During their reigns, lucky stars shone brightly over the sky and sweet dew drenched the earth. Phoenixes danced in the palace courtyard and herbs of immortality grew in the fields. The people were rich and everything was in abundance. Rain fell at night and every day was sunny. 2 ears would grow on each rice stalk. If your majesty seeks only short-lived pleasures, fixing your eyes on obscene events, filling your ears with lewd music, drinking until you become intoxicated, and hunting in the mountains and forests, this is a poor way to rule and will bring about the downfall of the dynasty. As prime minister in your government, and one who's served under 3 kings, I'm obliged to present your majesty with the truth and hope that you won't conscript the virgins and indulge in lascivious pleasure. King Zhou remained silent for a long time. Finally, he said, You're right. I'll repeal my edict at once. Annoyed by what had happened, he had too little patience to remain in the hall discussing state affairs with his ministers and quickly retired to his chamber palace. The following summer, all 800 marquises came to Zhaoge to pledge their allegiance to the Shang dynasty. As Grand Tutor Wenzhong had been sent to the front to subdue the rebels of the North Sea, Fei Zhong and Yohan had become extremely influential at court and demanded of the dukes and marquises bribes and presents. But Su Hu, Marquis of Jizhou, refused to comply. Su Hu had an indomitable spirit and a fiery temper, but was a righteous man. He refused to ingratiate himself by dishonest means and would explode at the slightest injustice or wrongdoing. He did everything according to law, and refused to confer gifts upon Fei Zhong and Yohan, who as a result were very much annoyed. At court that morning, after King Zhou had received respects from his ministers, the gate guard came forward and reported. To mark this year of celebration, all the dukes and marquises of the nation have arrived in the capital to make obeisance to your majesty. At present, they are waiting for your orders outside the palace gate. When King Zhou discussed the matter with Shang Rong, the latter replied, I suggest that your majesty grant an audience only to the 4 Grand Dukes, whom you can question about the livelihood of their people and about peace and security in their districts, and that the marquises make their obeisance outside the palace gate. You're right, Prime Minister, King Zhou said with delight. The 4 Grand Dukes, all splendidly dressed, entered the Meridian Gate and walked over the 9-Dragon Bridge to the Cinnabar Terrace, where they knelt and prostrated themselves before King Zhou. The king, in turn, thanked them for their services. You labored diligently for me, spending your energy and time educating the people and protecting them from starvation and war. You've achieved great things for the nation. The king said in encouragement. I'm greatly pleased you've come. Jiang Huanchu, the East Grand Duke, replied. It's by grace of your majesty that we were created dukes. We're obliged to be diligent and watchful at our posts, so that your majesty's mind will always remain at ease. Any service we've rendered comes within the limits of our duty and isn't worthy of praise. However, we greatly appreciate the kind concern shown us by your majesty." The king was delighted with this reply and ordered Shang Rong and Vice Prime Minister Bi Gan to entertain the 4 Grand Dukes, while he himself retired to his private court with his favorites Fei Zhang and Yohan. "Though you advised me to ask the 4 Grand Dukes for beautiful virgins, I was stopped by Shang Rong. Now that we've got the dukes here, I'll issue the order to them directly tomorrow morning. That way I can save the trouble of sending messengers to them later. What do you think about that?" It was virtuous of your majesty to suspend the conscription of beautiful virgins on the prime minister's advice, Fei Zhang said, but then admonished the king. "Your majesty's decision is known to everyone, and you mustn't change your mind or you'll lose their trust. I learned recently that Su Hu has a daughter as beautiful and charming as an angel. She's fully qualified to serve you in the palace. Furthermore, by having her brought to the palace, your majesty won't upset the whole nation." King Zhou was overjoyed when he heard this and immediately sent an order for Su Hu to see him at the Dragon Virtue Court to discuss urgent state affairs. When he came, Su Hu kowtowed and then waited on his knees for the king to speak. "I'm told that your daughter's mild, virtuous, and modest. I would like to have her serve me in the rear palace. As her father, you'll become related to the royal family and enjoy wealth and rank, and be known and admired throughout the country. How do you feel about it, Marquis?" asked King Zhou. "Your majesty's got a queen consort and thousands of concubines. They're all charming and beautiful and possess talents to please all of your senses. How is it that you're so unwise as to be deluded by your lying courtiers?" Su Hu protested. "My daughter, moreover, is crude and ignorant of the rites and has a very homely face. I beg your majesty to accept my humble advice and take immediate action to behead your malicious courtiers so that you may rule with virtue. The future generations will know that you're a good and proper ruler and not a womanizer." King Zhou burst out laughing. "You're both ignorant and lacking in common sense. Since ancient times, no one has been so foolish as to refuse royal connection. Once a daughter is lucky enough to be chosen queen or royal concubine, she's honored as highly as the king. You would enjoy untold glory as my relative if you let your daughter serve in my palace. Don't be muddle-headed. Think it over." At this, Su Hu flew into a rage. He shouted sternly, "The rule can only last when the king reigns with virtue and diligence and the people remain satisfied. You're now careless of state affairs, distracted from your duties by an unbridled passion for women. Behaving this way, I'm afraid you'll end up the downfall of your 600-year-old dynasty." King Zhou was enraged. "You must obey the king, even if it means giving up your life. How dare you oppose my order? And how dare you offend me with your rubbish and insult me by claiming I'm a wicked king? This is the gravest of offense. You should be arrested and put to death according to law," he threatened. When the palace guards placed Su Hu under arrest, Fei Zhang and Yohan entered the court, knelt down and kowtowed to the king. Su Hu should be punished for his disobedience. However, you would be looked upon as a bad ruler, and people would say that you had insulted a good man and imposed limitations on freedom of speech just because you were unable to get his daughter. It would be better to set him free and let him return to his post. This way he'll be grateful for your generosity and be willing to give you his daughter. By doing so, the people will admire you as a good ruler, generous and kind, permitting all to enjoy the freedom of speech and allowing dutiful ministers to live in peace. You'll be killing 2 birds with 1 stone." Now calming down a little, King Zhou said, "I'll do as you advise. Set him free and let him return to his post. But he may no longer remain here in the capital." Su Hu was expelled from the court and ordered to leave the city at once. When he reached his residence, he was met by his generals, who asked him, "What important problem did His Majesty discuss with you?" Su Hu was still in a rage and cursed the king soundly. "If I don't send my daughter to him, the bloody bastard is sure to send an army. But if I do, he'll neglect state affairs, and people will curse and ridicule me. What shall I do, generals? It's said that when the ruler is immoral, ministers may abandon him and seek their future abroad. Our king ignores his good and faithful ministers and devotes himself solely to sexual pleasure. Chaos is bound to overrun the country soon. Let's leave this place and declare independence to save our own homes and lives and the land inherited from our ancestors. They advised him. Su Hu was greatly excited. A hero must act in public. Hand me a brush and ink, and I'll write a poem on the Meridian Gate to express my strong resolve never again to serve the Shang dynasty. Eventually, he wrote the following on the wall. You ignore the rights between king and ministers, you corrupt the 5 cardinal virtues of mankind. Thus, Su Hu, the Marquis of Jizhou, has decided to offer no further obeisance to the Shang dynasty. King Zhou pondered deeply after Su Hu was removed from the palace.